So hello, hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel Pit Explosive. So today will be our fifth video on this channel. In the last few videos, we have studied about the blockchain motivation, decentralization, and we will be going to continue the lecture of the history of money. This will be our second lecture on history of money. We've already done one lecture on this topic, and this will be a continuation of the same lecture. In the last lecture, just to give you a brief what all we have discussed is that we have first went to the history of money, and we have, from taking the example of the barter system, we have discussed about the properties of money. So the few properties that we have listed down that ideally the money should have is that first we have discussed about the universal acceptability. So money should be universally acceptable. Another thing that we discussed about was the portability. It should be easily portable. Another thing we discussed about was the divisibility. You should be able to buy small things with the small amount of money. And then other two things that we discussed about the money was the durability. It should be very durable. And another thing, last thing that we discussed was the fungibility. These 5 points that we have discussed in the last lecture. After that, we have gone to the history of money, and around 600 BC, as we have discussed, it was the first time when people started using the gold coins. Basically, there was a material named electrum, which was a mixture of gold and silver, in the people kingdom of Lida, which is basically Turkey in nowadays. People of that kingdom started using electrum. That was the first initial step towards the money. And after that, we have discussed about the Roman Empire, how the Western Roman Empire collapsed due to the dilution of the money. They diluted the amount of gold and silver in the coins by mixing up copper or something. So this was the reason or collapse of the Western Roman Empire. Whereas we studied about in the last lecture that the Eastern Roman Empire had a very nice economy. The reason being is that they used something called as the solides, which was a gold coin, which has a very high acceptability, not only in the Eastern Roman Empire but also in the neighboring countries, due to which the economy of Eastern Roman Empire lasted for a very long time, and Eastern Roman Empire itself lasted around 1500 AD, whereas the Western Roman Empire collapsed in the first few centuries. Okay, so these were the points that we have discussed in the last lecture. Let's move forward to the point around 1717. Okay, so this was the time of the very famous person we all are aware of, Sir Isaac Newton. We know Isaac Newton for its invention related to like the theory of relativity, gravity, laws of motion, but he has done a lot of work in the history of money as well. So at around 1770, in those years, Isaac Newton was the warden of the Royal Mint. Okay, so Royal Mint was the place where the gold coins were minted. But Sir Isaac Newton observed as the head of the Royal Mint that the gold coins were facing a problem which is known as clipping. Okay, so what clipping means is that what people were doing in England was that the gold coins which were in circulation, they were shaving off small parts of the coin and using the rest of the coin as it is to do the trades. So eventually, if a lot of people were doing the shaving of the coin, chipping off small pieces from the sides of the coin, eventually the size of the coin was decreasing, due to which the people came to know that the size is decreasing. That means the amount of gold which is there is also decreased. So the value was eventually decreasing of the coin. So this was a huge problem to the economy of the England. So what Sir Isaac Newton has done is that he has invented or introduced something which is called as the gold standard. So what gold standard said is that the Royal Mint will print paper note, and which these paper note will have value equal to the ounces of gold. Let's say one paper note will be equal to 1 ounce of gold. So this was the whole idea of Sir Isaac Newton. Now, what are the advantages of this? The advantages of this was that if anybody goes to the bank and deposit one paper note, they will get back 1 ounce of gold. So in that way, people started trading with these paper notes instead of the physical gold. Okay, so this solved the problem of clipping that was there before. So because the reason is that these notes were very hard to forge, and if we clip off some part of that, the note becomes invalid. So people stop clipping out the physical notes which were there that they were doing previously with the gold coin. So this solved the whole issue, and the economy of England was saved. So this was all the idea behind this work of the Sir Isaac Newton. This whole scenario has replaced the gold coins or the physical gold with the paper money. So this use of paper money lasted for around 1914 in the whole Europe from around 1870s till 1914. This whole scenario, the using of paper money was done, and at that time a lot of invention took place and the economy was very stable. There was almost zero inflation at that period of time. So in this way you can consider how good this whole idea was of Isaac Newton was. But in 1914, as we are all aware, that First World War happened. So at the time of First World War, what most of the countries want is that they want a lot of money. The reason being because they need to provide the manpower, fight the war. They need ammos for their machines, machine guns, and all. They need weapons, and to buy those weapons, they need money. So what most of the countries start doing is that they started printing money out of the thin air. So as we have seen previously in the West Roman Empire, whole economic collapse due to this. Same happened over here as well. The inflation started rising. Inflation basically means that the cost started rising for everything. Okay, so inflation started rising due to the dilution of the currency. In Weimar Germany, the situation, the worst inflation has happened, and at that time Germany lost the First World War as well. So what happened is that Germany has to, because Germany has started the First World War, so they have to provide money in a replication to the war to all the countries. But the thing is that Germany didn't have enough money to give. Okay, so what they did is that they started printing money out of thin air, and they printed more and more money. That situation got so worse that Germany went into hyperinflation. Basically, the inflation rise around 1 trillion times. To make you understand what this means is that, let's say in today's time, if we buy a samosa, let's say the samosa is of 10 rupees. Okay, now if 1 trillion times the inflation rises, that same samosa will cost us around 1 trillion rupees. So this was the situation in Germany at that time. So a lot of people become bankrupt overnight, and a lot of people committed suicide because of the same. So this is the condition become very worst. Okay, and at the same time around, the political pressure was also built, and there was some political issues as well, because as we know that around that time Hitler also came into power. Okay, so let's not discuss about those things, because that is nothing to do with the topic. So let's move forward. And around 1944, that was the time of the Second World War. People sort of understand the importance of the gold standard. So something called as the Bretton Woods Agreement was used as the form of the gold standard. Basically, at the time of Second World War, around 1944, the US was having the highest gold reserve. So around US was having around 20k tons of gold. Okay, they were having the highest gold reserve. So what they decided is that, according to Bretton Woods Agreement, what was decided that $35 will be equal to the 1 ounce of gold. This was basically the agreement or the gold standard used at that time. But the catch was that what US did is that they were not having enough gold to match the amount of money that they have printed. So what they come up with the idea, which is known as the fractional reserve. So basically, fractional reserve, what that means is that I will try to explain with you with an example. Let's say US had n ounce of gold. So basically, ideally 35 n dollars should be in circulation. It was according to the Bretton Woods Agreement. But the thing was that the amount of money that the US government printed was 2.5 times the 35 n, basically more than the gold reserve that they were having. So basically, this is known as the fractional reserve. And the whole idea behind the fractional reserve is that a lot of people will not exchange gold with the money in circulation. This whole idea of fractional reserve work based on that. So basically, if less than $35 will exchange with the amount of gold which is there, then the whole situation will be fine. There will be no issues. But if more than $35 was exchanged for gold, then it will be issue. That much gold is not available with the US government. So this was the whole thing, and fractional reserve is a very dicey thing at that time. It depends on the supply and demand. So just to give you an example, this fractional reserve is still used in today's time. Let's consider any bank. Let's say I have a bank account in SBI. So the account balance that I see in the SBI. So if we go and we withdraw that amount, and all the people which are having their account in SBI go and withdraw the cash which they are having as a bank account, then the bank would not be having that much amount of reserve of rupees that it is shown as the bank balance consolidated of all the users. Okay, so this is basically something we refer to as a bank run. Okay, so bank doesn't have a consolidated amount which is shown as the account balances of all. So there's nothing to do with the gold standard or something. I just wanted to give you example of fractionalism. So let's move forward. So according to Bretton Woods agreement, $35 were equal to the 1 ounce. But what about the countries which were not having enough gold? What all the countries, other countries decided is that they will peg over dollars. So let's say whether it is Indian rupees or whether it is British pounds, they will be exchangeable with some amount of dollars. So let's take an example. Let's say 10 rupees is equals to $1 and half a pound is equals to $1. Then what it basically means is that the government of India should have equivalent dollars which the money which is there in circulation. So this is the whole scenario. So if we are going with 10 rupees to the Indian government, they should be giving us $1. Or if we are going with half a British pound, they should be giving us $2 in exchange. So the whole scenario was like that. The dollar was backed by gold, and all other currencies are backed by dollar. Basically, in some way, all the currencies were backed by gold in some or other way. This whole scenario, this Bretton Woods agreement, worked very well till 1960s. But after that, Vietnam War happened, and the whole scenario changed. We will be studying about Vietnam War in our next video because this video has gone too long. As I have told you before, we will be dividing the history of money, the whole video into 3 parts. So basically 2 parts have come, and let's wait for the final part. So thank you and have a nice day, and we will meet in the next video. Thank you and bye bye.